KOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 20 minutes after 10 o'clock, and I have a trick I can do on radio. Now, when I first started doing radio, this was really a trick. Nowadays, I can show you things with the internet, but I used to be able to show things to a listening audience through radio. And people go, you cannot show me anything. It's radio. And I did a night show, Robin.
Yes.
And I used to say, go outside and look at the moon. I am showing you something. Sometimes it is kind of cool, though, whatever's going on up there, you know, an eclipse comes to mind. I guess that's probably what I was doing that particular night. In today's case, we don't want you to look at the sun because it's got, you know, all reasons why your eyes could be damaged if you look at the sun, unless you have the right understanding of how to do that. But there is something cool happening today between the sun and us, I guess is the best way to say this. The first planet, remember that thing we learned in school? My very educated mother just served us 9 peanuts.
Yes.
Well, the peanuts is a dwarf peanut. So
I know. That's disappointing. We got to have a campaign.
But Mercury's still a good sized planet, right?
Yeah.
Elisa Quintana is on the phone. She's an astrophysicist with NASA, and she's going to tell us about this kind of a natural phenomenon happening with Mercury passing, I guess, across the surface of the sun. I guess that's the way you say that, at least from our perspective, right? Elisa, good morning. How are you?
Hi, great. Thank you.
Yeah, is this, are you watching? When is this going to happen, Mercury passing between us and the sun?
So this is actually happening right now. So around 7:36 on the East Coast in the U.S., Mercury started to cross in front of the sun. This is, you know, as you said, Mercury is the innermost planet in our solar system. And so for this to happen, the planets have to be aligned just right. This only happens about 13 times per century. So it's currently crossing from to viewers on Earth. It'll look like a small black dot crossing the face of the sun. And it's about 5.5 hours to cross the full sun.
Does observing that from a science point of view, because the rest of us, all we're just going to see is a dot, right? But does it actually tell you anything that you don't already know, or could it tell you something?
Yeah, so we learned a lot about transits. Hundreds of years ago, astronomers had really no idea about how big our solar system was. But by using and measuring transits of Mercury and Venus, they were able to actually measure the distance between the Earth and the Sun and really set the scale for our solar system.
That's amazing that you can figure that out. Yeah. There was a story this morning, by the way, not exactly connected, but the ladies who are represented in the Hidden Figures movie are going to be honored, I think, today, right? I don't know if you heard that. Did you hear that?
I haven't, but that sounds exciting. I'm going to look it up.
But the reason I think this applies to this story is because their whole contribution to the space program was math. In their case, they did it with the old-fashioned way, I guess, with their heads, right? No computer. They were the computers.
Yeah.
Right. So this is how people did, you know, it wasn't until the 1700s till we were able to measure this distance. And, you know, now we're building spacecraft to go use this technique to look for planets orbiting other stars. And it's all built on math and physics.
So when you're studying Mercury and it's passed like this, does that enable you to discover more stars?
So just the way we see Mercury crossing in front of the sun, you'll see it's sort of a black disk, and it blocks some of the light as it crosses. And so this is called a transit. And so we use this transit technique to look at many, many stars outside of our solar system to look for other planets crossing their suns. And so NASA has a telescope right now called TESS. It's a Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, and it's looking at millions of stars to find these planets that are in the right geometry. And we've actually found thousands of planets already.
It's amazing to me. When we hear news stories that we found a planet that is close to what Earth is like, I always think, how did they know? That's so far away. We don't even know what's on Pluto, but we know what's on this planet a couple of light years away, right?
Yeah, so Mercury is really tiny, as you can probably see. You can't even see it with eclipse glasses, you know, unlike Venus. when it does transit. You need special telescopes, and just like these stars that are really far away, we need space telescopes. And it's really the size of the planet determines how much light is blocked. And so what we measure is the amount of light blocked from different stars. And it's a really, really difficult measurement, which is why we have to go out to space.
So this is maybe a weird question, but if Mercury was the size of Jupiter, would we have an eclipse? Would we have an eclipse today?
Jupiter is still smaller. Mercury looks like a tiny dot crossing in front, but we would, if Mercury was sort of Jupiter size, we would see it probably about, Jupiter is about, I forget the scale, but you would still see a much bigger black disk crossing in front of the sun.
Oh, I give you that takes some math. I think I didn't.
Yeah. Well, she's an astrophysicist. She knows.
I didn't realize what the question I was asking.
Can you tell then from all of the study when stars may be in distress, and then give a projected time when they would explode?
So transits are really predictable, especially in the ones in our solar system. We know we can predict them out to many, hundreds of years. And the same with other stars. When we find planets around them, we can predict when, it's all about math. We determine their orbital period, and you can predict when they're going to cross in front of them.
So that's how you discovered that this only happens like every 13 years?
Yeah, that's right.
Times?
It's all orbital dynamics and math. And so I was looking at whether you could see Earth transit from another planet, and it's doable from the planet Mars, but that's not going to happen until the year 2084. So people have been able to project in the future, if we have astronauts up there, if they'll be able to see the Earth transiting the sun. So everything's predictable once you know.
That is pretty amazing.
Oh, wow.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and so would that be a way to study, I don't know, the other the planets that are outside of in the solar system from us, everything else beyond us? Yeah,
as long as we're at the third planet from the sun, and so we can see planets that are interior. So Mercury and Venus, we see transits of those. In order to see other planets or transit in front of the sun, you'd have to go really far away. But if we are farther than Earth and we can see Earth transit, then we can learn a lot about its atmosphere as it transits, because it blocks some light, but some of the starlight is filtered through the atmosphere. And so that's one way we could study Earth, and that's also a way that we're studying atmospheres of other planets orbiting distant stars.
So are people that have access to the huge telescopes in the observatories, are they tracking it now and recording it in real time with special filters?
Yeah, this is one of the best ways. You mentioned you should never look at the sun directly. So if you have a telescope with special solar filters, you can view this Mercury transit. But one of the best ways is to look online. So NASA has a space telescope called SDO. It's a Solar Dynamics Observatory that has been viewing the sun for a long time, and it's actually streaming near live video and images right now. And so you can go to nasa.gov and find these images and actually watch this transit happen.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool that you're able to provide this wonderful feature to the public.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So you know what I'm trying to do right now? I just put a pinhole in my styrofoam cup.
I'm glad it's empty.
Didn't we do a pinhole thing with this is, sometimes I learn from children's shows.
Yeah.
There was you put a pinhole in a cup or something and you could see the eclipse, but I can't see anything here.
Yeah, I've seen people do that, projecting it so you could see it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to Google it to see exactly how you set that up, but that's another safe way to do it.
You truly are an inspiration, because some young children, they're just fascinated with particular aspects of science, and to have you as a role model and have access to everything that you're providing from NASA really is a blessing, I think.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's great to, being able to go outside and see these astronomical events is really inspiring. There's so much science going on, but to actually be able to see it, I think, really touches a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know if I asked you where you are. Where are you calling from?
I'm at Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland, pretty close to D.C.
And so we're not that far from the Kennedy Space Center, and today being Veterans Day, free admission to the Visitor Center. So you could go today if you can take the kids. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So how long today is this event happening? Before it's done? How long?
So it's about 5.5 hours of viewing time, and it started at 7:36 on the East Coast, so probably a little after 1.
So it's almost done. Almost done. Oh my gosh!
We still got a couple hours.
I gotta get my pinhole thing. See if I can make it work.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being on the air with us. Happy Veterans Day, and love having this kind of topic on the show. It's such a fun, and you know what Robin was pointing out, that this is what gets kids interested in taking that career path. The one you took.
Right.
Yeah, same path you took. Elisa, I wish I had more time to talk to you. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
Yeah, it's great talking to you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Today's Veterans Day. There are parades and ceremonies around the country honoring those who served.
President Trump will be the first sitting president to attend the New York City Veterans Day